The photographer and narrator were two old friends. Moscow. The Kremlin and Red Square. The Kremlin along the Moscow River. The luxury hotel Russia beyond the towers on the Kremlin wall. On the far right is Ivan's Bell Tower. To the left of Ivan's Bell Tower is the Cathedral of Michael the Archangel, which was built from 1505 to 1509. It contains the tombs of the Moscow Tsars. The Cathedral of the Annunciation is on the left, and the Cathedral of the Assumption is on the right. Annunciation on the left and Assumption on the right. Ivan's Bell Tower was built from 1505 to 1508. Boris Godunov had the top tier built in 1600. The Cathedral of the Annunciation. The Grand Kremlin Palace, built from 1838 to 1849. The facade is 125 meters in length. The tower cupolas were built in 1684. The architect was Osip Startsev. Under the cupolas is a chapel where the women worship. They were not allowed to worship in the cathedrals. This is the front door of the Cathedral of the Assumption. The Cathedral of the Annunciation was built from 1484 to 1489. It is the home cathedral of the Tsars. Ivan the Terrible was banned from entering the cathedral because of his many marriages. The Cathedral of the Assumption was built from 1475 to 1479. The architect was the Italian architect Fioravanti. The old cathedral in Vladimir, 12th century Cathedral of the Assumption, was the model for this church. Tsar cannon was built from 1586. The barrel is 890 millimeters and the weight 40 tons. Tsar Bell was built from 1733 to 1735. The diameter is 6.6 meters, the weight 200 tons. A fire in 1737 cracked the bell, and the piece removed weighs 11.5 tons. Red Square is east of the Kremlin. Red comes from the old Russian word krasny, which meant beautiful. It was beautiful square. Pokrovny Cathedral of St. Basil's was built from 1555 to 1560. The Museum of History is across from St. Basil's. The procession to Lenin's mausoleum. Lenin's mausoleum was constructed from red and white granite in 1928. First Lenin was in the mausoleum, and then both Lenin and Stalin, and then Stalin was removed in the late 50s and put in a separate grave along the Kremlin wall behind the mausoleum. Stalin's grave along the Kremlin wall behind the mausoleum. And this is the grave of Chernenko. His wife stands near the grave. There's no bust because this was just after he died. Red Square was damaged in 1974 by tanks and track vehicles that paraded through Red Square on May Day. It took 6 months from May to November 1974 to repair the damage to the towers, the mausoleum, and the cobblestones. 3 shifts worked 24 hours a day for 6 months. The Hotel Russia is right adjacent to Red Square. The tall building behind the church is in Stalin's wedding cakes architectural style of the 1950s. Goom department store building was built in 1890 to 1893. In 1953, it became the government universal store. A wedding party on Red Square. A candy factory. On the left is the National Hotel, and behind it the tall building, the Intourist Hotel. A woman, a lawnmower, but no grass. Young pioneers range from age 10 to 15. A church near the Russia Hotel. A church near the Cosmos Hotel. Lenin Hills, a panorama of central Moscow. Novodevichy Monastery was established in 1525. The church and bell tower were built in the 17th century. This is where Boris Godunov was proclaimed Tsar, and where Sophia, the first wife of Peter the Great, was forcefully cloistered for many years. The golden domes of the Kremlin can be seen on the horizon. The two-tier bridge, the largest bridge to cross over the Moscow River, was opened in 1958. The metro travels on the lower level, and the upper level vehicles and pedestrians. The metro train can be seen on the lower level and vehicles on the top level. A wedding party on Lenin Hills. Moscow State University was constructed in 1949. It opened on the 1st of September 1953. It has 32 floors, a height of 237 meters, and 57 meters for the tower. Exhibition of Soviet economic achievements. This metro station serves the exhibition grounds and also the Cosmos Hotel. The metro or subway is done in many styles of stations. The ceilings and mosaics, they're all different throughout Moscow. The Stankina Tower is the television tower. The barrel shape is a restaurant called Seventh Heaven near the top. The agricultural building on the exhibit grounds. There are over 200 buildings. The Vostok. The Cosmos building, which is the building of the space exhibits. The exhibits exchange periodically. Gagarin's picture is in the background. Laika, the first dog in space. Laika means barker. The space capsule of Yuri Gagarin. The Apollo and the Vostok, which met in space. Soyuz, the large space station. Special School of English. Young students and their teacher.
Пошла просить заводной, встретила там злодейку мой. Сказала, ты вами повернулась, ты вами промотаю, расспросила, плаху мою похвалила. Поделилась с кумой, как помазана женой, как ругаются соседи, и о том тоскует и идет домой.
The classrooms are well appointed, television, especially in the cities. The sophisticated seniors. The largest swimming pool in Moscow. Novodevichy Cemetery on the south side of the monastery. Khrushchev's grave is on the right, and his wife Nina, the small grave, on the left. The gravestones depict the occupation, profession, or vocation of the deceased. A mathematician or physicist. A composer. A surgeon, the hands holding a jewel. A general and also a fighter pilot. A military communicator. An artillery officer. U.S. Embassy. The old embassy building still occupied and operational. The new embassy, the housing unit in the foreground, is occupied, but the Chancery building has not been completed in the background. Dancers and happy campers.
Помню дальний степной небосклон. Ой, родная Москва, ты прими от меня в этой песне привет и поклон.